Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and this is a review of Lord X episode 6. Hear All, Trust Nothing. A Kal Kat episode where they go to Deep Space Nine, and there's pirating afoot and stuff. They go to Deep Space Nine, and it's basically a version of Beautiful Symmetry. A little bit of the other one too. A little bit of the Arbiter. So yeah. Actually, it was differences. It was that earlier TNG script they used. Anyway, so it was differences. So but they made a Deep Space Nine. The characters Cerritos is called to Deep Space Nine to broker a dispute between them, the Gamma Quantum race and the Deep Space Nine people, and same plot as the Arbiter, same plot as differences. And they go to the planet, and there's a little bit of the other one in there. So they kidnap the Quark at one point is out of Symmetry. So it's very Kal Kat. I didn't write it, but for some reason it's very Kal Kat. And so anyway, so the episode has Mariner and her girlfriend Jennifer. we did that. You know those two were going to get together. So yeah. Are they going to do Blood and Fire by chance? No. Then it would end with them burying the gay. So no, they're not going to do Blood and Fire. But this one, I don't know, David Children now. This episode is clearly ignoring the Season 8 to Deep Space Nine story. They thought of what we left behind completely, and saying, okay, Colonel Kira is still in command of the station, and Quark is still on the station, and they got a visitor and Armin Shimmerman to be in it. We also have a Reno Ryan from Iowa, who is essentially a Kal Kat character in green face makeup, running around. Actually, he's less no, he's not a Kal Kat. He's a Jamie Mezzi, because he's making all this Orion pirate stuff up. It turns out he isn't really a pirate. He's a Cillian, clearly, not a pirate, Cillian, and so which comes up later when they're accidentally aboard the escaping kidnapping ship, because Quark has stolen replicator parts from the aliens on a previous encounter. He's using it to make his new replicator. They figure it out and they take him. So the replicator parts, Quark 2000 replicator. Meanwhile, Boimler is winning at Dabo because he's probably cheating. And Mariner is with the friends and they're locked on the Cerritos. The bad guys cut the power, and so they're trapped in the people are trapped in the quarters, and they stun each other. She stuns them because she's Jennifer tells her to stun them, tells her to be annoying again because she liked that about her. So because she was being too nice. Now her friends are going to be afraid of her. Anyway, so Mariner stuns the characters and Beckett. And so we have there's a lot going on in the episode in just 22 minutes. But they go to Deep Space Nine. Nog is not mentioned, but implied that he's there. He might be the other Ferengi in the room, which is cool because that means what we left behind was didn't happen. So nobody's in command. The Emmett Till is not in it yet. We're assuming that ship comes later at some point. The Emmett Till and the Emmett Till A. Well, yeah, it's the ship from the 2390s. It's not the 2390s yet. It's 2380s. So it's not the 2390s yet. It isn't that the time period yet. That hasn't happened yet. Yeah, so this story is set a little after Nemesis, so it's supposed to be 2383, and it's currently 2400 or 2401. So it's a little later. The Emmett Till A is 2402 or so. About the same time period. So. But the Emmett Till first one is from 2396, I think, something like that. It's a little later. Which is when they should have the other one take place, because it's 2396. But it doesn't. Anyway, so we have that's not really important, except that if it fit in Cillian space, it kind of would. It's not really important. They're clearly not following that directly. Although making Tendi piratey and sneaky is kind of funny. She's a science officer, though, so she would be piratey. Her piratey and syndicatey. They mentioned the syndicate. Which, yeah, that's kind of funny. Piratey, arr. Turns out the other guy that was bragging about being an Orion doesn't know anything about it. He got all this information from bad Hollow novels. They were called Cillian Space. Cillian Realms. No. Yeah, they reference us. Yes. And although we don't know if there was a Mike McMahon that went to Pine Hill or Evergreen, it's like he did. It's like he knew about us and stuff. It's weird. Maybe he was on the flyer. We didn't know. Maybe in the Evergreen time period. Maybe he was at San Jose State. And Mark's cards never encountered him, but I did. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But it seems awfully strange. We're on the same wavelength. Some of the Trek Corps people don't like the lower decks. It's too silly for them. But this one hit all the right buttons, so it did all the right things. It was like a new short Deep Space Nine episode. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, it was fine. It was one of the better ones this season. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, Blood and Fire is different. It's a David Gerrold story that it's New Voyagers. They're not going to do that one. Don't worry about it. But yeah, neither will we. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm all over the place on this Lower Decks episode, but it's really, I kind of synopsized it in Deep Space Nine. Kira's still a colonel, and she knew Shax from the Resistance. I guess he goes back to the Resistance. The story takes place in 2383, but Nana Visitor really does sound quite a bit older because it's actually 25 years later, and she sounds quite a bit older. It's sort of like that Robotech Love Live Alive where they threw in that ending scene where everybody was 25 years older, and Rook Bartley sounded like a grandmother. Well, Kira really does sound like Nana Visitor really does sound like her grandmother at this point. I mean, Kira, this is only like literally 3 years after the show ended, but for some reason I sound like I'm really old and crispy. Because I would be. I'd be in my late 60s at this point. Yeah. So in my story, I made her sound like a, General Kira. Set in 2388. Star Trek Chimera is set in 2388, only 5 years after Lower Decks. And the series Strange Worlds is set in 2402 to 2404 or something. A little later. 16 years after that. But yes, General Kira. Bashir and stuff. Bashir's not in this one, but Quark and her. Armin Shimmerman kind of sounds the same, which is interesting. I guess because he was kind of old when he was playing that character back then, so his voice didn't change that much. Slightly older to begin with. But yeah, and Morn is in it. I reference Morn. So. Yeah. There's at least a Kal Kat cameo, if not a Jamie cameo in there as an Orion, painted up in Orion makeup. It would have been even funnier if he was actually pretending to be an Orion. He took the makeup off. That would have been even more meta. It's like, actually, I'm a Cillian. I'm not even an Orion. I'm a humanoid. I'm human. Oh, dude. Anyway, so, yeah. It's all good. Anyway, it's totally Jimmy. I mean, he kind of could have been a Buffkin, kind of, but not really. Shax is more like Buffkin. Security guy. Yeah, if he was on there. If there was an equivalent on there, it would be Shax. And Henderson, or maybe the commander guy. Sort of playing Henderson. Yeah, kind of Henderson guy. But yeah, anyway, so that is the review. That's sort of a recap of this episode. So, Lower Decks. Yeah. Go watch it. It's got a lot of fun Deep Space Nine references and stuff that even Shaylavi should like. Because it doesn't get too silly. I'm down with the references. It just goes there and shows the thing. So, you should like it.